Good morning, and welcome to today's little video from the guides. My name is Sally Reed, and I'm a clear channel. So what I've been doing is answering questions, and this one is pretty interesting. How did I get the way I am? And I'm going to use myself as an example, but only the first bit to understand how energy changes and moves our body. Okay. I'm going to I'm going to address three areas. One, our thoughts and how we got to have our thoughts the way they are. And the second one is our body and how we learned how our body relates to the world. So I'm going to start with myself as a very young child. When this one was young, this one experienced great aversion. This one's mother did not want to have her. So she put many negative thoughts towards the child. This child was very sensitive, so she received those thoughts even though they were not spoken verbally. This one was born with a large birthmark, and therefore many people commented on how ugly it was. And so this one had a sense and a feeling of not being wanted, not belonging, and not being in this world by choice, which was entirely untrue because this one had a big, big job to do. So this one's earliest memory, yes, is bracing for a fall. So this one is very courageous. She spent a great deal of time isolated and alone from the others, ostracized from the two older siblings. That the closest one was 4 years older, so this one was in a container apart from the other children a great deal because of the mobility and curiosity that this one had. This one's earliest thoughts about self were of curiosity and discovery. This one's earliest thoughts about oneself is understanding how the body works in the world, learning to walk, understanding that the noises were words, understanding that the words had meaning. There were many frustrations. This one's early childhood was about frustration, and limitations. And they say the guides are saying that this is not uncommon. Many young children feel frustration for the limitations, but clearly that's for their own good. Especially courageous and intelligent and sensitive humans are very into discovery of edges. That's why highly sensitive people are created, to discover edges. Introversion is learned by understanding that the world is dangerous. And it's not really learned, it is a natural state, but it's more of a self-protective natural state. So while it is learned, it is not learned. It is an innate factor of protection. And so in this time, a combination of understanding that this one is a product of one's natural tendencies and how one processes the world versus what one receives as a very, very young child about people tell them who they are, essentially. You are explained to the world by others, is what they're saying. So when you are receiving your information for who you are, it is completely processed by other people saying you are beautiful, stupid, it matters not, you are. So the transition of understanding what the words mean, understanding how your body works in relation to gravity, to movement through the world, it allows you to trust your abilities or mistrust them. And then finally, having people explain to you who you are. You receive it and own it. And now let's fast forward to once you have decided who you are in relation to the world. how you process these thoughts and feelings. A naturally cautious, naturally risk, we're going to address that, not risk, but pain averse human. Naturally sensitive people do tend to be pain averse. Would act in a way that they learned how to avoid pain. And then their mind would go to the point where, if I know that this causes pain, then they will, since they're very bright, they will take that this, since it's similar, should also cause pain. And this and this and this, which are also similar, should also cause pain. So I will create a rule around these type of things cause me pain and they must be avoided. An example of those things is being noticed, answering questions, being noticed by the big people. That tends to cause pain. So naturally introverted people do tend to move back so they're not noticed, because they found that being noticed causes pain. They also tend to move back because they notice that when they have to interface with other energies, it can be intense to them. They don't understand why it's intense because they're too short, they're too young. But they do understand that many feelings come at once and must be processed. You are receiving the feelings of the person speaking to you, and then you are trying to process your own feelings plus theirs. So the natural tendency, i.e. it causes pain, is to pull back. That's how introversion is quote unquote learned. Now it is possible, they're saying, to help a naturally sensitive and introverted child to understand that they can separate themselves from the outside world. Some of these things that you can teach very young children is to say, it's okay to say, I need a minute. Oddly, it's very funny to have a 4-year-old tell you, I need a minute, but be respectful, because young children are frequently bulldozed for their feelings, so therefore they become more introverted. Respecting having a minute to process will help a naturally introverted child very, very much. Now, say you're an adult and you are not given these minutes. You pull in and you have many thoughts, many thoughts all the time. Too many thoughts to process. So what do you do with these thoughts that you've already learned are inappropriate or not helpful? Well, you push them away. There was a big term in the 70s called stuffing, but that's literally what you're doing. You're stuffing down your thoughts. And where do they end up? They end up in the body, frequently in back of the neck, the occipital region of the neck, both shoulders, yes, right, and in the low back or mid back. So they're going to end up in major joints and occasionally hips and knees. Oh, and feet. So activity, moving joints that you need to function in your day, they're going to end up there. You know, or conversely, they end up, if they're not going to the musculoskeletal system, they're going to end up in the thyroid. They're going to end up in the heart muscles or other major digestive organs, which you may have noticed, frequently the stomach. One of the reasons the stomach is frequently a case is because there is a direct connection between the stomach, the intelligence of the stomach, the nerve that are associated with the stomach, and the brainstem. So that direct connection allows primates to learn what plants are good to eat and what plants are not good to eat. But it also helps the primate process their world. And since humans are primates, that is still, that nerve is very important for processing the world. They're saying, notice that all children under the age of walking, and even after walking, tend to process their world through their mouth, through their tasting. That is a very, very old way of processing the world, and it still happens. Frequently, people who are sensitive may turn to using food to process their world, or alcohol, or other things that are taken by mouth. That is a very common thing because it is soothing through the world. Now, how do we get this way? We're going to jump forward again. Imagine that you find yourself around age 35 and you find that you feel stiff and achy. You wake up in the morning, your joints feel very stiff and achy. Your stomach is usually suffering from indigestion, irritable bowel system syndrome, or you may have psoriasis. You may have other processing issues, autoimmune disorder. This is your body trying to process packets of information that have yet to be processed in a way that's possible for you. And now they say it's important to talk about the packets of information. Everything is energy, and our thoughts are one of the things that are energy. And our thoughts about how we're doing in the world is also a processing of energy. And then our perceived thoughts about what other people think of us are also forms of energy. The ways that human process is through the breath. So if you feel highly emotional, one of the things people do to suppress feeling the high emotions is to suppress their breathing, not breathe fully into their belly or into their chest. Frequently, people only breathe in the upper part of their chest. They very rarely allow the bellows to expand. So a very good way to calm the body is through using a combination of the bellows breath, often known as Ujjayi breath, where you can constrict your throat, but you don't need to, but breathe in wide. And then the alternate nose breathing, where you put a finger here, close a nostril, and then alternately close a nostril. Look it up on YouTube to understand what alternate nose breathing is. That is a very, very good way to process excess energy that you are feeling swirling around in your head and in your body. So you want to breathe in a big bellows breath and exhale completely in a big bellows breath by alternating your nose, the side of the body. This is a form of pre-meditation or meditation. It does rhythm, create rhythm, and creates. They're talking about stimulating different, but I don't want to talk about that. But what it physiologically calms the body. Another form that helps us process completely is to get enough restful sleep. Now, clearly, we are a nation of sleep-deprived people. One of the ways that you can allow yourself to sleep is if you're tired at night, go to bed. Oh, I can't go to bed. It's much too early. No, if you don't have anything pressing that you absolutely have to do or the world will end, go to bed. If the kids are still awake, send their little butts to bed too. It's quite simple. Everybody goes to bed. Oh my, look how late it is. It's 8:30. Let's go to bed. Do you understand? If they're too young to put themselves to bed, then put them to bed. They need to be in bed at 8:30 anyway, because they've got to get up in the morning, just like you. So again, sleep is one of the great processors. Frequently, that is the only processor people have. Breath is one. That is why when you're exercising, you're needing to do aerobic exercise and you process so much, it's because you are moving the breath in and out of the body. So breath is a very good one. And the second one is sleep. And what is the third one? The third one is to remember that the whole world isn't focused on you. You are simply one tiny little speck in the world. So if you can begin to focus your attention rather than inward on how you're doing in the world and how the world is going to happen and what's going to happen next, and all these other inward thoughts, which are the generator of this excess energy. Because not only are you processing what's outside of you, you're trying to process yourself. You're watching yourself process it on the inside. So if you can remember to say, wait a minute, none of this is important in the grand scheme of things. In fact, if I were to ask myself, can I remember what I did Thursday last week at noon? The answer would be no. So it's clearly not important. So what you're going to do is remember when you catch yourself whirling and whirling and whirling and say, wait a minute, what's actually going on now? And then tell yourself, I got this. The world isn't ending. I got this. I'm late for a meeting. Well, will the world end? No. Will I possibly get in trouble? No big deal. If I'm running the meeting, well, it frickin' can't start without you, can it? Do you understand? So just things are not as important as your very, very reactive mind believes it might be. And this very reactive mind was partially innate, but partially learned as a protective mechanism when you were a very young child. So essentially, this high sense of how am I doing in the world is a remnant of your 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old self. So, do you really want your world being run by a 6-year-old? Do you? Let it go. It's time to let the adult, grown up person take charge and command and ask your toddler to go take a nap. I hope this helped. Bye, y'all.